got a great month. So, Helena, we're going to let you come up and give us all kinds of good information.
Okay, so first of all, I brought some T-shirts because we are going to get behind Phil Lyman for sure.
Okay,
there we go.
Large.
Okay, so I just want to tell you the truth of what happened at convention because the media is already picking up the lies and running with it, and I'm hearing the average person believing Governor Cox. I need you to understand what happened, and you need to correct it. Governor Cox, since he has been elected, has been demonizing caucus. He was at UVU saying that we don't need caucus, that we need to get rid of it. He's even on camera saying, who wants to spend 3 or 4 hours at a caucus electing a chair? I'm sorry, but if you don't have 3 or 4 hours of every 2 years to give to your own elected representative democracy, you shouldn't be an American. You just shouldn't. And so he comes to convention, which was this last Saturday. He walks on stage, and some people start booing him. Before you judge that, that is how we've done it politically since the Founding Fathers. It's the only way to express to your political representative that you are unhappy with him.
Well, you can cheer and clap too.
Well, you can cheer and clap, you can boo. And this has been done for 200 years. He was not happy. And if you watch his speech, he turned and became passive, aggressive, arrogant in there. And he called us all extremists. I was sitting next to a Vietnam veteran who turned to me and goes, wait a minute, you're a grandma, I'm a veteran, and we're the extremists? And then he went on, he was so disparaging, he was so rude, and he outright lied. And I want to tell you where he lied. So he made 3 statements. He goes, I'm fine with you booing me because you've booed the last 3 Republican governors. He said, Governor Herbert lost at convention, won in the primary. Governor Leavitt lost at convention, won in the primary. And he goes,
face, right?
I'm sorry?
Kind of like in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what? He was pretty much saying, I'm going to win anyway, regardless of what you think.
That's what he was saying.
And
Yeah.
oh, he probably does know that. We've
does
got an
know
uphill
that.
fight on our hands. And then he said, and you guys even booed the General Relief Society president back in 2000. Honestly, I'm talking to everyone there. What's he talking about? What's he talking about? Well, that was 24 years ago. None of us were there. So nobody has any clues. So it kind of went
Why didn't
unanswered.
he have that prepared in his little speech to come back?
Exactly.
Because he knew he was going to get booed.
He did know because, just so you know, although it is normal to boo in a political situation, he went to the NHL game down in Salt Lake. He was booed. Okay, now this is sports people, hockey people. They don't have a clue what's going on politically normally, and they booed him. He's a very unpopular governor across the board. Well, anyway, somebody went into those 3 and figured out the truth. And guess what? Just like the adversary, it was 1 truth and 2 lies. Okay? Herbert, who is an establishment politician, did lose at convention because educated delegates know what they're talking about.
Yep.
And that was 4,000 people that had done their homework. So
And
that was
He
true.
would not have been on the ballot that year when he lost. That's when Senate Bill 54 came in.
Yes.
And Governor Herbert got on the ballot. Otherwise, we would have had Governor Johnson.
Yes, and this is what's happening now. Cox should not be on the primary
Yep.
because he completely lost at convention.
Yep.
Okay,
Big time.
Big time. And
67%
Yeah.
against.
And that's Senate Bill 54.
yes, it's the fact that he paid to get signatures, to 20,000 signatures at $11 a signature.
And then they got They got paid $20 an hour on top of each of the signatures.
So
They
it's
paid.
That's
Yeah.
paid. That should be illegal.
It should be.
it should be illegal, but you see, he is using this as an argument. The extremists in the caucus that you elect do not align with the average Republican voter. Well, guess who owns the media? Governor Cox owns the media because on Monday morning, KSL was running a hit piece on how extremists become delegates and they don't represent you. Well, I'm sorry, but if you went to your caucus, you get interviewed. You get asked questions. You want to run? Are you going to represent me? Who are you going to vote for? How do you feel about this? It's your job to vet them. Don't elect them if you don't like them. We had someone that liked Mitt Romney, that liked John Curtis, that liked Spencer Cox. Guess what? He didn't get elected because my area didn't want that.
But what you do when you go to your caucus and you say,
no, we don't want you to pick. We want to go through these. And he says, no, we'll pick because it's take too much time. And that's what they did. He says, yay, all those who are for us bypassing that, yay. And they
waited and let everybody.
yeah, and all those nay, and he didn't even look up. And he went,
Look at
and then it's okay, it's yay. And we went, are you kidding me? So we didn't even get. So the caucus was of no use.
I know. Well, I mean, last year Robin got elected as a delegate, and they did a switcheroo on her and didn't submit her information and put a sheriff in in her place. So yes, we've got corruption at every level, but we're going to still do what we can through the avenues that we have. But I want to tell you about these three areas. You have to know the two lies. So true, Governor Herbert did not make it through a convention, won at the primary. Governor Levitt, I don't think we had woken up to the establishment politics back then. Governor Levitt did win at convention, and he won at the primaries. I don't think it was a little bit like Obama. We didn't really figure out Obama for a few years either, you know. But the big lie is the General Relief Society president. You did. Yeah, you did. But the rest of us, it took us a little while to figure out Obama. What happened with the General Relief Society president, Orrin Hatch was running, and you are allowed to give a 2-minute speech. So he asked the General Relief Society president to come and introduce him. As she starts speaking, there is a timer right there. We were there 16 hours on Saturday. Sorry, if you get 2 minutes, you're not getting 3, because it's my time. They forgot to start the timer. So people in the audience were shouting, "Start the timer!" That's not booing someone. So you see,
How they twist.
but nobody did the homework. It took 48 hours. Someone had to go back and actually find the feed of convention and watch it to find out what happened, because nobody remembers back then. And so we absolutely have to get behind both Phil Lyman and Trent Staggs, and they are both equally important.
And Frank Mylar, so that he'll go after people.
Yes, but I don't want to spread you too thin.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can only get behind 2, you've got to get behind Phil Lyman, you've got to get behind Trent Staggs. Let me tell you something about Phil Lyman. So Governor Cox is going to run his mugshot because he was in jail. And that's what Governor Cox has said. He goes, I'm going to run your mugshot, and I'm going to make sure everyone in the state of Utah knows that you're a criminal. Okay, let me tell you the true story.
Yeah.
Okay?
The story is.
The true story is, so remember when Morgan Philpott came and he was the attorney for the Bundy family. Phil Lyman was in the exact same situation as the Bundy family. It was going on around the same time. So in Blanding, Utah, the federal government came in and took more land under the Bureau of Land Management, just like they did. They were trying to take the Bundy's land away. They did the same thing where Phil Lyman is from. He organized a protest. The federal government has taken 2/3 of our land. And one of the reasons they've taken 2/3 of our land is we are probably the wealthiest state in the country. We have so much of everything in our land, and we don't.
in the world?
It could even be. It really could. I mean, they say we've got.
Didn't they say like we have 1,000 Saudi Arabias?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
5 Saudi Arabias.
Under the
Yeah, just in Vernal.
the oil.
Yeah, just in Vernal.
Well, that's what Phil Lyman said when he was
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So this is what happened.
Richfield
So
House.
Phil Lyman organized a protest. Don't you like him already? And he had a protest saying, this is Utah land. The Bureau of Land Management cannot come in and tell us that we can't even go on this land anymore. And he got arrested, and Obama charged him with a federal misdemeanor and threw him in jail. Gave him a $100,000 charge. And eventually, when Trump became president, Trump pardoned him because Trump sees all of this, that the federal government is just so corrupt trying to take away our rights. So Phil Lyman said, he goes, fine, if Governor Cox is going to put my mugshot on all the ads against me, I'm going to put my mugshot on it, and I'm going to show everyone that I'm going to fight for you. So now you know the true story. Please go out and share it.
Well, Phil Lyman has been endorsed by Moms for America for a long time, but his campaign just will not send in his picture. So when Trump does come for the rally in the summer,
Yeah.
he's got to have his picture up. So I've been trying to figure out, I've talked to 2 different Lyman people and had Raquel, who's over that, the national, resend it to his campaign, and they still haven't. And I even sent it to, my own picture of Phil, saying, just use mine.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it has to come from the campaign. So Chris Kimball just gave me Sophie, so the 2 Red Pills,
Yeah,
Sophie
yeah, yeah.
is his campaign manager. So somehow we've got to get his picture on there because Trump does look at Moms for America national endorsements.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So yeah, when I was calling for Trent, so we can get on these with both of these campaigns. They'll help us get on, and we can call people. Everyone that I asked about Trent, they said, "Oh, he's a rhino. He's like Curtis," and I'm like, "No, he isn't." And then they're like, "Well, we just got an ad that said he was." And so, I called up Raquel and I said, "You've got to talk to Kimberly. Kimberly has to talk to Trump. He has to endorse him before Saturday, and then 7:30 a.m.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
get the endorsement."
Let me
Is Trump coming for Stags or coming for?
I'm sure he'll come.
All of them.
I'm sure he'll come for Stags
and
initially.
anybody in the other states, if Kimberly's Moms for America Action Group has them endorsed, he will truth out. That he supports, so he'll support Lyman. But right now, Lyman doesn't. His picture's not on there, but he's been endorsed by us.
Yeah.
Well,
Did Stags campaign reach out to Trump and Trump agreed to come?
No, I don't think it worked that way. Staggs was waiting for Trump's endorsement. I personally think Trump was a little bit concerned about endorsing someone that didn't get signatures that might not make it through convention.
Oh, I don't believe that.
And so,
but
he did come out.
Trent already has a Mar-a-Lago date for. He already had that, 3 weeks ago to get in, money. And
Yeah.
so Lyman probably will need to do that. I'm going to talk to Sophie about
Yeah.
that because he'll let them use Mar-a-Lago, and people that have money will come in and then help his campaign.
Yeah, yeah. So what you have to understand is you've got to get behind these two guys for a variety of different reasons. One of the reasons Trump is really going to be behind Trent Staggs is because what's the point of having Trump as your president if we don't have a voice in Congress?
Oh, they can't see you. They're texting saying they can't see you.
Oh, they don't need to see me.
Okay.
They just hear me. I hate being on camera.
Is Trent going against John Curtis?
Yes.
Because that's what's bothering me, and I'm seeing all these wonderful commercials.
Curtis is running a zillion ads.
He's using the Provo cop, Rick Healy on there.
I know.
And Rick Healy was his little puppet,
Yes.
But it looks good.
Yes.
It looks
Well,
really
and
good.
you're going to see the exact same thing from Spencer Cox. And this is why we're going to be in trouble. So I'm going to ask
You
all
saw
of you.
at the convention, Curtis had the biggest booth with a whole ad.
Where's he
running.
getting the money?
Yeah, and then
Well,
Cox was giving
Cox
out
is the-
free.
Cox
Cox
is-
was giving out soda and pizza and chocolate.
And those who don't know anything about politics are going to say, "Oh, this looks
Yeah.
really good. I'm going to vote
Yeah.
for them," and that's what concerns
Well,
me.
let me also explain to you what happened with Trent, because I got more negative advertising on Trent. I didn't get any negative on anybody but Trent, but it was like every day I was getting negative advertising. And the one thing they're using against Trent is he got Mitt Romney's endorsement in 2022. And so they're saying, see, he's aligned with Mitt, he's a never-Trumper, it's all a lie. What happened in 2022 is Trent ran for the mayor of Salt Lake County, went against Jenny Wilson. Jenny Wilson is an extreme far-left liberal. Believe it or not, she's too liberal for Mitt Romney. I know that's a shock. Okay? I don't really think Mitt Romney is that liberal. I think he's been bought and paid for.
Jenny Wilson, a Democrat?
Oh my gosh.
Mitt
Yeah.
Romney sold
Her
absolutely.
dad or something was our
because
mayor.
I know what happened.
Or was the mayor.
Yeah.
But I'm
So-
not saying it.
so
I told
Trent-
you my experience with Mitt Romney's best friend, Fraser Bullock, right? She was my Relief Society president, his wife, and during the 2016 campaign, she said, vote for McMuffin, or what's his name,
McMullen.
Yeah.
And I was in that part of the Book of Mormon. That's when I realized the Book of Mormon is taught, we're to do it every 4 years during the presidential election. During that time, I was reading about the Kingsman. And she said, if you vote for him, then he'll give the presidency to Paul Ryan. And I'm like, that's a Kingsman plan.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that was under Romney's best friend who
Yeah.
was going to go work in the White House with them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's wrong.
So what happened in 22 with Trent Staggs is he knew, this is Salt Lake County, he knew he needs the moderates. Actually, we all need the moderates, and that is why Spencer Cox is trying to label us as extremists, because if the average Republican can be an extremist, the moderate wants to distance himself from that. So Trent Staggs went to Mitt Romney and asked for his endorsement, and he gave it to him. And it was pretty close. I mean, I think it was something like 46 to 53 or something like that. I mean, Trent really, in Salt Lake County, it was pretty amazing that he even came that close. But he understood he needed the moderate vote. We need the moderate vote too. And so this is why we've got to go out there and we've really got to talk to our neighbors, the ones that listen to KSL and now think that everyone at caucus is an extremist. Both the Salt Lake GOP and the Utah County GOP have put out a statement on what happened with Cox. It came out really small. Sorry, I didn't realize that, but you can read it. And then I've put a quote on here from Natalie Klein that really spoke to me. And she said, the problem is some of y'all are trying to sit at the tables that you were sent here to flip.
Say that again?
The problem is some of you all are sitting at the tables that you were sent here to flip. So I'm asking every one of you, we have to get involved. Think of it this way. If we lose, we don't get Trump in, and if we don't get Phil Lyman in, it is over. Seriously, we won't have another 4 years. It is over. If you've never gotten involved before, this is the year to get involved. So please get involved.
Colette, Marilyn Boyack is the one that did our 31 groups, which Sisters
She
of the
contacted
League-
me last
yes,
night.
Do go, if you can. If you can't make it, get someone else to go. May 18th.
May 18th, yeah.
Because we're doing a powwow with all 31 groups
Yeah.
to support Lyman and Staggs and how we can.
And if you can't be ground soldiers, send money.
Yeah.
Governor Cox
Yes.
has already received over $4 million from left-wing Democrat groups. So if you don't want to go talk to your neighbor, write them a check
Yes.
so that they are empowered. You've got to do something.
Okay.
Either Staggs campaign or Lyman's.
Lyman or
Okay, now, okay, so Lyman and John
Staggs,
Curtis,
he doesn't
what
have
is
any
the
money.
position that they are running for?
Yeah, so that's
What is the position? So Lyman is governor, so he's running for
I
Spencer
mean, not
Cox.
Lyman, I
Yeah.
meant Trent.
Trent Staggs is running for
Running
Mitt Romney's
Mitt Romney's
seat.
seat. Senator, United States Senator.
Yeah.
And so
So
the
that's why
reason-
Staggs is doing the Mar-a-Lago, because they have a huge list of good people that have.
Yes, so if
we
anyone
need
you
Lyman to get
know
there, too.
supports Trump, they need to support Staggs. John Curtis voted to censure Trump. He's a never Trumper. We can't have him in there. He will vote against our president. And so it really comes down to
John Curtis.
if your friend supports Trump, we need Lyman and Staggs.
And if we get rid of the caucus, we are not a republic.
You know what?
So-
the other thing that nobody realizes
You know,
is
Cox wants
because
to get rid
John
of that.
Curtis was a rep. He will not go into Senate if he gets the seat. He will not go into Senate as a newbie. He goes in with status. Trent Staggs will go into the Senate as a newbie.
And John Curtis is using that.
And yes, he is. And people do not understand how that's important and how that works. And that's why John Curtis can raise a ton of money outside of Utah, because he will not go in. I can't remember the exact term, but he will not go in as a junior.
Yeah, and that's true.
Just because he's a congressman, it automatically catapults him.
Yes.
So how do we address the whole, can there be a fair election? Because a lot of people just say that it's broken, like his brother, there's 3 people that vote from his house that don't live there.
I know.
Well, if you want to be on a committee, there is Dr. Frank came in town, and we have a committee called Committee 2024, because we know it's do or die. And we need people from all 31 groups, and we're doing Dr. Frank's steps to be able to ensure election integrity, and they meet, and if you want to be part of the solution, please, let's get a list going around of people that want to be, help with election integrity. I would go vote, make sure they go vote,
When
and
is the
screenshot.
vote? When is
June
that vote?
Well, the primary is June
So
25th.
do we put our boards up now, or when do we put those boards on our lawn?
Yeah, you can put them up now.
Because I don't see anybody with them on.
The sooner the better.
I just told Sophie again, so she's gonna send the line
Move them
photo.
around
Yeah,
your
good.
lawn, because
Good.
there is a
All right.
thing called
But if you wanna be
sign.
involved in election integrity, do that, and when you vote in June, take a picture, physical picture of your ballot when you turn it in, and screenshot your Wi-Fi.
Are they doing mail-in ballots
And
again?
we still have this.
Or can you do it in person?
You do it in person, but it's mail-in ballot, still you get your mail-in ballot, so there's gonna be cheating, we know there is, and we know that we still have the machines, so you have to just have proof that you voted, check back after, and see if it was counted or not. People don't do that step, so we have to teach our neighbors that we have to go vote, but we need to secure our vote by taking pictures of our vote. and
And
also.
then you will show us how to go back and check?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it's very,
okay.
very simple to go back and
Okay.
check whether your vote has been counted. So we have to be involved, we have to vote. And then we have enough of us showing that our vote was still, you know.
Cool.
I want to comment on something Tammy said.
Yeah.
They love to categorize us as, the liberal left or the far right. And the truth is, this election is going to be won on information. It's going to be high information voters versus low information voters. That middle of the pack moderates, if we can educate them, they will simply make the right choices. And the other side wants to keep them low information voters so they can control them.
Yeah.
So we need to get away even from feeling so polarized ourselves and just say, let me give you information.
Yes. And part of that.
Back up to principles. What is the principle behind this?
Yes.
No.
Well, that was the 5,000 year leap. I'll send you all the copy of the 5,000.
And then we can
the
teach it.
part 1 and part 2 of 5,000 year leap.
So what she was just saying, and with the shirts, if you can contact Bill Lyman, Trent Staggs, Frank Mylar, and Mike Kennedy. Those are the main ones in the federal plus Utah. If you can get their signs and put them in your yards, and you become, so in my neighborhood, I become the people that they text, like, I didn't study anything, who are you voting for? I'm gonna go vote, but I don't know who. And then I can text them because I vetted them. So that's some
Yeah.
form of republic
Yeah.
too. And so, Phil Lyman, Trent Staggs, Mike Kennedy for U.S. House.
Now, Mike Kennedy only is the east side.
Yeah.
He's running for Congress, right?
No, he's running for Congress though,
But
and
it's
it's
on
in
the-
District
on
But
that
3.
I
side.
can't vote
That's
for him.
right.
That's right.
He's only a certain portion.
Yeah,
That's
so don't worry about
Okay.
Kennedy.
Okay, so
You won't, but Mike Kennedy doesn't fall into your
You're
purview.
Burgess Owens.
I'm Burgess Owens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burgess
Mike
Owens, and
Kennedy.
he's not running against anyone, so he's just open and free.
Large.
Yeah, at large. And then, but you can put Burgess Owens on there so that they know. And
Yeah,
then,
but Burgess isn't yours
and then Frank
either.
Mylar is the AG for all of Utah. Yeah.
Who is?
Frank Mylar?
that
He came here?
at the same time. If you want to re-listen to that one, that was, you figured out March 6th was when
March 6th, yeah.
Phil Lyman came for an hour, and then Frank Mylar stayed for an hour. If you want to re-listen.
Excellent. Overtime, do we do Kennedy?
We do Kennedy.
We did Kennedy a couple years ago.
Yeah, we do Kennedy again for House. He ran, so Romney would not have won if we didn't have the Senate Bill 54 because he was not voted in our caucus. It would have been Mike Kennedy in this U.S. Senate seat.
Well, let me tell you, Mike Levitt, when Bob Bennett, he was him and Hatch were the senators. And the caucus voted Bob Bennett out, and he was
Furious.
furious. He'd been in at least 2 terms. 20 years?
20 years.
20
And they finally, the caucus said, we're done with you because you're not a true conservative. And so Mike Levitt and a whole little group put together this count my vote to get rid of the caucus system
Yep,
or at least damage it.
yep,
And they put it on the ballot.
yep.
And people didn't know. Understand that, well, yeah, you count my vote, absolutely. And that's what caused the damage to the caucus system, saying, okay, yeah, you'll lose, but if I go out and get, what is it, 100,000 signatures or
It depends on
Yeah.
it depends on the seat.
So like Hatch, he didn't get the signatures, and even though his flyers, did you notice his flyers were this
Hatch.
Orrin
Orrin
Hatch's
Hatch's
son.
son.
Oh,
Brandon.
yeah.
I had more flyers from him. He spent so much money, but he didn't get the signatures and wasn't the caucus pick, so he's off. the
Well, he's
ballot.
never
Well,
lived
that's
in
fine.
Utah either.
I know, it's just, he just ran on his name. Yep.
There's one other issue that everybody needs to be aware of, and it's the Alpine School District. Alpine School District, they're so large, they're so out of control, they are so corrupt. They have 33, you heard Skylar Beltran, they have 33 administrators making $200,000 a year. 33, it's ridiculous. So the legislator wants them to split. They don't want to split. So they're trying to play games with all of our cities. Lehigh City is going to put an interlocal on the vote.
A what?
Interlocal. So they're going to put on the vote that Lehigh City wants to be its own school district. Well, Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs are also going to do the same thing. But Alpine is going to, see, this is what happened with Orem, 2 years ago? We tried to break into our own school district. Alpine put so much negative information out there to stop it. So now we are trying to ask Orem, Vineyard, Linden, and Pleasant Grove to put an interlocal on so that we could be our own school district. But Alpine is fighting against all of it. But the legislator wants it to go to the ballot. So this is something else you have to get educated on for your people. Honestly, the smaller the school district, the better. I taught in a school district of 4,000, the entire district. We had a 98.5% ratio of kids that went to college. I mean, you can't tell me that because you're pushing 100,000 kids that you're a better school district. You're absolutely not. So find out what your local city is doing, because Alpine is going to start attacking all of this so that the people vote it down, so that Alpine can say to the legislator, see, none of them wanted it. So if one city votes yes, and the city that I'm hoping will vote yes is Lehigh. Lehigh is the #1 contributor to Alpine School District. Orem is the #2.
Wow.
And so if these two cities break off, Alpine's in trouble. Alpine's in
Good.
trouble. But Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, they also want to break off because the rest of us rejected the bond because we don't want to pay for all their schools. But they do need schools. So they're like, then give us our own school districts so we can put a bond just for us and we can build schools. I'm saying, love it. Let's do that, because in Orem, Linden, and Pleasant Grove, we're dealing with old schools. We need to bond to fix our schools, but we don't want to bond to build new schools somewhere else. So this makes so much sense to break Alpine School District into at least 3. So that's something else we've got.
That's good.
You've got administrators that won't get their $300,000 a year.
Exactly. But once it's a little more local control, it would be really, really good to divide Alpine.
You know what, in your district too, the state school board is a huge race, because there should have only been one, but now there's 3 because Mike McKell paid for Randy Booth to get signatures, and then the other 2 got in because Randy was voted out, and I'm sure that's your
It's
area.
not, that's not my area. My area is Cole Kelly, and he got in 76% or something
Wow.
like that. You're thinking further south, Kerry Bartholomew and Randy Booth. That is gonna be a big race, but there's probably only Julie could vote in that one.
No.
Yeah, for the
Carrie,
state.
There's-
yeah,
it goes into
Carrie
Orange.
Bartholomew we want for
Yeah, we
that
want Kerry
area.
Bartholomew.
What is it? Chris
You know what?
Kimball is
I
going to
don't
be
agree
over?
with
She's
that.
state school.
State
board.
school
She's running
board.
for state school.
Yeah,
board.
I
Carrie
don't agree with Carrie Bartholomew because they're gonna eat her up like they did Natalie
Oh,
Klein.
she's so good though.
But they'll eat
She's
her
the
up.
Moms for America
but-
representative.
But they're gonna eat her up because Lear will go after her. I guarantee.
And she's
the-
strong. Al Jackson's got her back, and she'll
But
have.
Allison has already been up at the legislature several times. She's as conservative as Carrie is, and Allison knows how to get herself around
So does
where
Carrie.
she needs to go. You
Carrie does
watch.
too, and Carrie's
If she
actually-
wins, you just watch. They'll eat her up. I promise you.
But this is the problem.
I
We don't want to
promise you.
divide the race.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been trying to fight against the whole time. We can't divide the race.
Yeah.
The Frank Mylar race is actually looking a little bit positive. Derek Brown is the one that Governor Cox wants. He got signatures and he was out in the beginning. The delegates didn't like him. So now we've got Rachel Terry, who's also establishment. Really
I sat
liberal.
and vetted her. She's
Yeah,
do
you
not
don't
vote for
want
her.
her, and then you've got Frank Mylar. Well, this might not be a bad thing because Derek Brown and Rachel Terry are going to divide the establishment votes. So we like them divided, but we don't want us divided.
But,
Did
but
Carolyn Fippen, did she get signatures?
No.
she didn't get enough. She tried, but she didn't get enough.
Okay.
That's okay.
So
we couldn't
but back
afford
with
Oh, I
Carrie.
agree.
But let me tell you back with Carrie. Carrie has been the whistleblower with a book that Utah wrote for social studies, and it's just a book explaining that how to be what's happening in the colleges right now. What is the word I'm looking for? To be a warrior. A protester, activist. So this whole, it's a thick book, she speaks out with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and she's been back to DC
DEI.
several times. And so,
She is a colored woman too.
yes, and so she's got a strong voice. That's why Al Jackson has tutored her how to get in there and what to say. And what with one thing about Al that I could not understand, that I didn't know was going on with DEI, is with religion. He was saying that the churches, the ministry are going in there and saying that Jesus came to support the downtrodden only, and the disparity. And so then it would be equal things. We have to do equal things. And he's like, no, Jesus came because he died for our sins and was resurrected. And so religions are now starting to take DEI and move into it's for the oppressed only. Jesus only came for the oppressed. And so a lot of these religions they were bought during that time of the whole global.
Well,
What do you-
he paid the most for the establishment at the time, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think that's playing out with the establishment now worldwide? How much damage they've done?
So that's why the ministers are really important. So that Black Brigade one time, when you have time, show that. It's about an hour long. But the ministers are really important. So like with COVID, they got the ministers in our church even on board before the pandemic even happened.
Well, I remember years ago,
to take
Glenn
our-
Beck said if the churches would stand together with the Black Robe Regiment,
Yeah.
they could fight against all the stuff
of
that's
this.
going against them. But they don't.
But they're not. So they're buying onto this fact that let's jump onto DEI. So we've got to help against that.
Should be called DIE.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.